Oh, wow. It actually went live faster than I thought it would. Okay. So welcome to another Run Wild with Us, Ask Us Anything. I am Lisa Kastner. I am the founder and executive editor of Running Wild and RIZE Presses. And I am here with you on Thursdays, 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And typically I'm here with some of my fellow editors. And we are here to answer any questions that you may have regarding, it can be about publishing, it could be about editing, it could be about whatever you want. And yeah, so in order to ask those questions, all you have to do is go ahead and toss your questions into the comments section. And what I will do is I will repeat the question and answer it. That's simple. And oh, holy moly, look, I'm here with two of our most fantastic editors / acquisition editors, Ben and Peter. Hey guys, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good evening.
Awesome. Oh, good. I'm glad you can hear me. I wasn't sure because I don't have my headset on. Yay. So anything new and exciting going on this week?
I'm starting to look around at the new motorcycle.
Oh, I'm
bike
jealous.
is from 2001, and it's a great bike. It's run great. It's covered half the country with me, but it's kind of time for a new one because the front turn signal fell off. Now the rear turn signal fell off. I think it's time to replace it. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a lot, man.
Mm-hmm. I got a cruiser right now, and I'm looking at a dresser with this fairing, saddlebags, and a backrest tank bag or luggage rack.
You're getting all fancy, man. Like, what the hell?
Hey, about time, huh?
Right? Oh, my God. I love it. That's so awesome. How about you, Ben? Anything exciting?
No, still driving the same old Jeep.
Admittedly, I'm driving the same old Mini Clubman for like 10 years now. So I just figure I'm just going to drive that baby until it dies. So hopefully that's no time soon. So CJ says, good evening from Pennsylvania. Good evening, CJ. Awesome to see you. Caroline says, lovely to see your sweet face, dear Lisa. Oh my gosh, you are so beyond kind, for real. And she also says, hello, Peter and Ben. And don't ever forget the exclamation point, guys. It makes the world.
It's all the difference in the world.
It really does. So actually, this week, I literally got news today from Kirkus Reviews that one of our upcoming books, Death Tango by Lachi, is going to be featured in May as a highly recommended book for 2023. So that's kind of amazing. It's pretty fantastic. Yeah, so big deal. And we were actually talking about possibly seeing if Lachi could be on their podcast. So that would be kind of fun too. So Margaret Buchanan says, hey guys. Hey Margaret, awesome to see you. I think another big deal, I actually was at the LA Book Festival this weekend. It was insanely packed. I was really surprised at the number of people who showed up. So I don't know. And I hadn't been there since the pandemic. I don't even know if we had it since the pandemic started. So maybe that's why there were so many people. I don't know. CJ says, Kirkus is a big deal. I know, right? And Caroline says, Peter, love your haircut. Looks great. Yeah, you're looking kind of styling there, young man.
Got a trim. We'll call it a trim. I mean, it's short. It's really short.
You're getting there.
Not as short as Ben's, but
You're getting there.
Thank you.
Oh, and I also have been in conversation with one of my alma maters. I have 4 of them, but with Drexel University, and there is going to be a few major announcements that are going to be made this year, actually. So definitely look out for them. Those are also, I'd say, pretty big deals for both Drexel and for us. So looking forward to it. All really, really, really exciting stuff. So definitely, yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else major going on. I finally finished the novella anthologies. So yeah, I was like, hot damn. Thank God. Those took a long ass time. But they always
number 8.
8 for 8 for Running Wild and 2 for Rise.
Oh yeah.
And then next, though, I get to work on. I was going to say I was going to start on 9 and 3, but we're going to launch a Kickstarter to do an anthology on a cross genre of literary and magical realism, and I'm going to be the co-acquisition editor with Jonathan Mayberry, New York Times bestseller, multi-award winner. I have no idea how the man does everything he does, because he puts out a ton of freaking work. And he's already recruited a ton of like amazing authors to be in that. So you're going to see a lot more about that in the coming months. I just need to finish pulling together all the Kickstarter stuff. And then you're also going to see, this is my cat, who you see every week. But anyway, you're also going to see, if you haven't seen it already, we have another anthology, which is based on the world of Cure, which is the novel that we put out last year, and we're going to be putting out another one next year, and which is all about lycanthropes and werewolves and let's just say adjusting history. So look for that, guys. The submission form is already up, along with some guidance on like what to do within the short stories that you write within that world. And the deadline is July 31st. And have a blast, guys. And feel free also to reach out to me with any questions that you may have about that world. Just if you want to just make sure that your idea is a good one for the short story collection or anthology, all good. I'm more than happy to chat about it. I've already had a couple people reach out to me like, is this okay? Is this okay? It's totally okay, guys. Unless you're like breaking some kind of wild rule with that I set up in that world, you're totally fine. So Caroline says, love the kiss kiss. Oh, love the cat. That's awesome. What is minor going on with everyone or on the back burner? So Ben, Peter, you guys got anything like fun that you're kind of working on? Or
I'm still slugging through my novel, making progress, not as fast as I would like, but I am making progress. So I've delved into another novel to edit. So I'm working on that pretty much as much as I can. So things are moving along. I'm really happy with the progress with the way things are right now.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it since I'm your editor.
And I'm late and I got to get on that.
Dude, you're way late. You are seriously late. Yep. How about you, Ben? What's been going on in your little editing and writing world?
Let's see. On the very front border is The Calling. Making progress through The Calling because I'm your editor.
That's true.
In the middle burner with the tortillas is Terror, Caroline. Be happy to know that it is there, and I have begun. And then on my back burner, I
Uh-oh.
still have like 40 of these journals to go through and type up.
Good Lord, man.
Wow.
And
And
I'm your editor too, so
I'm working through March of 2022 right now. So it's a back burner to get to it when I can, but there's a lot of poetry collections in there that I need to extract and type up and see where they want to go. If they want to go anywhere, you never know.
Is there anybody you could like have help you out with that, man? Because I'd love to have another of your narrative poetry collections.
Well, that helps. Knowing that there might be some interest helps motivate.
All right. Well, there's always interest in here. You know what it's just got to be 50,000 words total for a full collection. But yeah, cool.
That'll get done.
I have a question, but how do you know when a poem's done, Ben? I mean, a novel is different, a short story is different, but a poem, I mean, is so amorphous. I mean, how do you know?
I know because my poetry is really, they're very small stories. They tell a story, and so I'm not a big fan of esoteric poetry myself, but so the exoteric, when you get to the point that you want to make, it's done. and I'll start off with a lot of times it'll be something that happened, and these are the details, and this is what it means, or this is the meaning of it. And when I get to that meaning of it, make the point, fold it up, and move on.
There you go. Okay.
But there's the collections. There's a lot of themes going through, because one event is rarely one event, and because they link together. I'm a big fan of poetry of witness, and there's great collections of poetry of witness. Carolyn Forshey has a huge. Well, she's actually got two collections, one American and one European, but it's poetry written by witnesses of history that you won't see in a history book. But because those are the details that get pushed out of the history books. But if you read the work of someone who lived it and saw it and wrote about it, it's an eye-opener experience.
For sure.
Very cool. Yeah, I don't know how to write poetry. I just know how to read it and go, this doesn't sound right. So I'm not the most helpful.
The esoteric part is if I'm a philosophy major. If I don't get it, something's wrong. So so sometimes I'll let philosophy sneak into my poetry, and it'd be really weird, but that's okay too. I try to resurrect pataphysics, which was like in the early 1900s poetry that was really weird, like what's the art movement, the Dada art movement, Dada, whichever one it was.
Oh, Dada.
Poetry jumped in there as well, and it's just kind of weird. If you throw it down on the page, throw it.
Okay.
See what happens.
CJ asks, how's your editing backlog coming along? Are we whittling it down? Well, I just took on another book, and I'm actually meeting with the author on Saturday, so we can kick off. So when someone works with me, I usually sit down. We usually have a kickoff, which is basically me just getting on a Zoom call with the author and walking through what the process is. When someone works with me, I typically will go through the manuscript and ask like leading questions, different sections, and provide like really basic, super basic proofreading, looking for typos, that kind of thing. And then unless there's something that is like their thematic things to look for the author to look at. So an example would be I had an author whose memoir we're going to publish next year, and I realized that like he started the memoir with one narrative and then kind of switched it about a third of the way through. And so, I got on a call and I just asked, what is your goal for this memoir? What do you want what's your end game? And so we talked through it. And then based on that, I gave him a couple of recommendations for revision so that it would accomplish what it was that he wanted to accomplish. And what he came back with was freaking amazing. He completely nailed it, exactly what he wanted to do. So if there's nothing like that in the work, then usually I'll just shoot an email with a link to the file so the author can just go look through, item by item, what the recommendations are, the questions are, and either accept, reject, or maybe just ask a bunch of questions back, right? Like, well, why would you recommend this? Because maybe there's something that I missed. And usually when someone works with me, I'd say maybe we usually only go through like one cycle. Sometimes we'll go through two. If we go through two, it's because there was something thematic in it that maybe the author got some of it, but not all of it. So it's just to make sure that it was completely done, if that makes sense. And then it goes to our production team. So I'm kicking that off. And I think I'm done all the others, because I had a couple of novels that I was working on, a couple of memoirs. But I have so many other things on my plate in terms of like agreements with other organizations, and we want to expand our marketing so that more people are aware of all of our great stories. So I have all this work to do on that kind of stuff, that I'm trying to take it like one manuscript at a time, if that makes sense, instead of my normal where I take on like 3 or 4 and I just like, churn them out, which isn't the smartest thing to do, by the way. If you want to cause yourself to not have any available weekends, do what I just described. Because it'll suck up your weekends and weeknights. So anyway, Margaret Buchanan says, what is the latest news on RIZE? Oh, wow. Well, the latest news on RIZE. So I know Cody's been actively working on RIZE stuff. I know Ben and Cody are going to be working together on the next short story anthology. So we literally met about that last week. Let me think. Oh, interesting. My phone, my watch decided to start transcribing everything I'm saying. That's fun. Anything else you can think of, Ben, Peter, about what's going on with RIZE?
I think we picked some good titles in the last go around of acquisition, the last acquisition meeting. So he's got some. Cody has some good titles to shop out to editors, and he's probably in the process of doing that as we speak.
That's true. Well, and Death Tango's out of RIZE. That's the one that's going to be featured and a highly recommend by Kirkus. And then Shay Galloway's Valley of Sage and Juniper. That's a RIZE title, and that one was in an industry review. They said that she had reinvented the Western genre. Western genres. So some really exciting stuff. A lot of great attention being made to the titles in RIZE. So, actually, Ben, Peter, do you guys want to talk about how you work with authors?
I like the same process as you. I'm I don't generally do set up Zoom calls unless the author says I'd really like to do a Zoom call so we can talk and what the process is. Generally, I send an email out that lists all the points. I mean, because basically I'd rather do email because I'm really not a good talker. But anyways, here I am. And I ask questions. I make comments. I just look at things from, the different levels, 10,000 foot, 5,000 foot, 5 feet, to see what's going on and to see how everything fits together as a whole, broken up by pieces, being chapters and sections kind of thing. So a lot of questions, a lot of comments, and just basically trying to get a flow of the feel of the author's voice and see how we can make things even better, even smoother, even stronger.
How about you, Ben?
That's I would ditto both your processes. The going through it the one time. I like to get about halfway through before I even share it with the author, and then let them follow me after I get halfway to make sure that we're syncing up and there's some understanding about what I'm doing and what they're following and doing. And then so I'll beat them to the end, and then I'll circle back and go through the comments they've left me. And so it's kind of a simultaneous 4 eyes on the page as we go through at any one time. Once I get halfway through, there's 2 people looking at it. And but if there's mostly if it's line edits, those are grammar, punctuation, those things are usually what are the most time consuming. Sometimes there's a note left on the door that kind of gets forgotten about in the next chapter, Lisa, and so you have to address what happened to the note on the door.
What?
Throwing darts, man. You're throwing darts, man.
Oh no, this is bad. Wait a minute, I get the red pen back out and
all good, man. All good.
It's all good. It's I was like, wait a minute, we need to iron that out, and then there's always parts to iron out, and make sure that the reader ultimately is not going to get lost and have those questions. We want to head those questions off before they get a chance to be asked.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the tightening of the work. And I think that's the main thing. Those different levels that Peter's looking at it from are just to tighten it up as you get closer and closer to what the reader is going to see.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about editing is that's a great process, going through halfway and sending those edits to the author. And then, so you're working on the back half while they're working on the front half. That's fantastic. I hadn't even thought about that. One of my favorite things about editing is when I'm editing something and I make a comment or make a note or whatever like this. It's like, can we see more here? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And I ask that my authors don't highlight anything. They don't track any changes. They just make the changes and let the novel flow. Mm-hmm. And just the wonderful feeling of surprise when you see something that's different than it was before, but it just flows so much better. It's just really it's exhilarating because you're like, that nails it. I don't even want to go back and see what it was before because this nails it. This is exactly what I was hoping you would find. Mm-hmm. So that's one of my favorite feelings as an editor.
Very cool. Now, I heard a rumor you, Peter, started working on a title with an author you're used to working with, and it's kind of fabulous.
Holy cow. Yeah. This is the third novel of his that I've edited. The first one was a lot of fun, a lot of work. Second one, a lot of fun, not so much work. This one is just blowing my mind. I mean, it's just amazing. What he's doing with the nuances and the levels of the story and how he's telling it, it's just, I mean, it's poetry. I mean, like with Prevent, I mean, it's poetry the way he's putting these things together and the images and the language that he's using. I mean, and the tension that you can feel with the characters. Everybody's got something at stake. And then he holds out the mystery of what's going on in the background as long as he possibly can. So it's like, I can't wait to get back to reading this book. I can't wait to get back to editing it because I got to find out what happens. So that's awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah, this man literally sent me an email going, oh my God, you won't believe it. Like, I never get emails like that, guys. Caroline says, how do you each like to work with an author? Or does that depend on the work? Zoom, email, text? I don't know. Why don't we start with Ben?
The most common way is through Google Docs. And oh, like I said, once I get halfway through and then the author starts to follow me through, there'll be times when we're both working on it and we can use the chat function there in real time. And, just to touch base and see, is it making sense? Is my process making sense to you? Is your process making sense to me? And so the chat function in Google Docs is good if you catch an author in there at the same time. I have had Zoom calls with authors who say, "Hey, I want to know my editor. Who are you, Ben?" with an exclamation point. But then a lot of emails after that. Not too much text because I never know where my phone is. So I don't know. I may have gotten text. Where's my phone? But so it really depends on what the author would like, because I've got that set process, and if it's not working, then we need to know it's not working, and something more real time can help that. Make sure we get on the same page as the flow goes through it.
Got it.
Very cool.
How about you, Peter?
I have not made the leap to Google Docs yet. I know I have to. I mean, when I'm done with the novel, I upload it to Google Docs and say, "Here, it's ready, it's done, it's Lisa." But I'm still stuck in Word, so I do track changes on my edits and my questions and whatnot. I send that to the author. But I'm always open to emails, texts sometimes from authors to see if they ever got a question they need clarification on something I've written, something I've said. If they have a question like, "Well, did you really mean this or that?" So I can answer those kind of questions. So I'm very open to authors to communicate with me in any format that they can, email, text, whatever.
Yeah, and so like I just described, I usually do, well, sometimes it depends. A lot of times I'll do what Peter described. I'll introduce myself through email and just let the author know that, like, in a general timeline where I anticipate reaching back out to them. 9 times out of 10, unless the work unless there's something like I was describing, like thematically needs to be looked at with the work, I pretty much do it all in Google Docs, and I shoot a note out to the author when I'm done and just let them know, "Hey, here, if you want to chat, I'm more than happy to." I have a Calendly account, so they can set up a meeting with me. But otherwise, it's pretty much all digital, right? It's all through Google Docs, email, and so on. Now, lately, I've had some authors who are more local or who've been in the Los Angeles area and insisted that we get together for like coffee, and that's all good too. Like, I'm happy to do that. It's just that my calendar tends to be really, 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 really tight. So it might be kind of hard to find time to get together. But and admittedly, I am more along the lines of an introvert. I'm not really huge on running around, but I do it because actually usually once I'm sitting down with somebody, I'm fine. But I'm not someone, this will shock a lot of people, like, because I speak a lot at different conferences and workshops and stuff, but I don't get re-energized by speaking in front of people or being in front of people that I don't know. It actually makes me tired. That's actually the definition of like an extrovert would be re-energized and like, yeah, let's keep going. And an introvert comes out of it going, "Oh, you know what? I really need a nap." So I'm the latter. It doesn't mean I don't like you or I don't want to talk to you. It just means, talking to people I don't really know. And, being in front of a camera kind of thing doesn't re-energize me. So anyway, so that's basically it. So it, again, Caroline, to your point, it depends on the work. Margaret asks, how do you guys determine if the manuscript needs more line editing over developmental editing? Which is more time consuming? Why don't we start with Peter? What do you think?
Excuse me. I believe the line editing is the big thing for me that takes the longest, because you're getting down to the sentence level, you're getting down to the grammar and punctuation, as Ben was saying. And if something is wrong with the sentences in one certain section, it's going to be wrong in other sections. You just got to prepare for that and expect it and work through it, because when you're done, I mean, it's fantastic, or as close to fantastic as you can be. As far as the conceptual, I mean, that's the most fun, because you can be editing a book, put it down for a couple hours, go do something else, and you're still thinking about it. You're still thinking, how do I need to move this here? How about put that over there? He put the wallet on the stoop. He doesn't tell us why. That's very important that he put it there. But we don't need to draw more attention to it? We need to draw more eyes to it so that we know exactly how that's going to play out. We know that it's going to play out, like the gun, introducing a gun in Act 1 kind of thing. You know it's going to play out later. So how much emphasis do you put on that? And, just in terms of sorting the story out and making it as linear isn't exactly the right word, but flow. I know that's a cheat word, but flow is the best word I can come up with. So that flows and the reader doesn't get any hiccups or any questions to go, why did he say that kind of thing? So I don't know. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. How about you, Ben? What do you think?
Yeah, I think the line editing down at that minute level does take more time, and to determine it, the writing itself is going to determine it, and like Peter said, the flow of the story. I thought of Tom Milazzo's Faith Machine when he had the team of supernatural agents coming together, which is a really good story. He had them coming together, but they were going around the country meeting with each other, and it was just something that he, as the author, hadn't thought about. But the travel to one place and then back up to another place, the logic didn't work, and so why not just have it go across the country in order? Yeah, that probably works. And so that kind of developmental editing. Sometimes I've seen really super characters join the story, but not add anything to the story. And that's you know that's a darling you're asking the author to kill, and but then you encourage them. Well, they're great. It's a great scene. It's a great character. Give them their own book. Go ahead and extract them out of here, and that's your next novel. But right now they really don't fit in the flow. And again, I think it's editing from the perspective of a reader. And if there's places where the editor is confused and not real sure where you're headed, then the reader's going to do that too, and you don't want to make the reader mad at you. There's some was another point I was going to make, but I forgot what it was. The determining just that flow. And, that's it. There's, as an editor starting a new work, I catch myself bringing in expectations for writing. And sometimes I have to catch myself and say, well, wait a minute, this author is using a technique on purpose that is consistent throughout. And I've got to let that author be creative with that purpose and that technique. As long as it doesn't get in the way and it is consistent and it becomes the method that the author is using, I've got to check my own. I would write it a different way, but I've got to check that and let the author be the author. And that's that kind of developmental, especially when you work halfway through and then you ask them to come in. And sometimes halfway through, you finally figure out, oh, that's the technique they're using. Maybe I shouldn't. I got to go back and not delete that before I invite them in, and correct it before that happens. And so it's there's some creative aspects of what the author's doing and the writing skill. And if it's consistent and it works, it works.
And to both of their points, I'd say line editing, so it takes longer, but it's also in some ways easier than developmental editing, because a line edit's a line edit, right? Like, you missed your noun, we have no idea who's being referenced in this, that's like a no-brainer. Developmental editing, honestly, it's usually developmental editing when I'll recommend that we talk, because I want to find out from the author, what was your intent with X or Y, to Ben's point, because sometimes maybe it just wasn't obvious. I've had I've told authors to kill as much as 50 pages because it was all backstory that was not actually needed for that novel. Um, now, they may have reintegrated certain aspects of those 50 pages, but it was not anything of significance. And I think the point Ben was just making as well, I've had instances when, I read something and I was like, I have no, if I was this person, and I would do X or Y. And then I'm like, okay, what I'll do, like, let's say they introduce a character in chapter 2 out of nowhere, right? Like, this person just simply did not exist previously. Or chapter 10. I'll write a comment. Okay, who is this person? What's their significance to the story? Why are they being introduced now? Why are they significant, period? And if the answer is, oh, it's just someone I thought would be kind of cool, and they aren't brought forward, then you got to kill them, right? If it's a character that actually is either supports the primary narrative or a sub narrative, then what I'll do is say, okay, you gotta give me a hint. You've got to let the reader know who this individual is, or infer who they are earlier on in the story. And I might give a couple of techniques as to how that can be done. Now, sometimes when I use that kind of developmental editing recommendations, then sometimes the author will just run with it, which is great, right? And then I'll go back and read whatever the changes are. And sometimes they'll want to meet because I broke their heart because I said, you got to kill these 50 pages. But and I'm fine. Again, I'm happy to have that conversation. But again, sometimes when you have multiple of those conversations with the author, that can take a lot of time. So I hope that made sense. Caroline says, how do each of you feel about being out doing speaking engagements in front of many people? Just curious if you're more one-on-one. I don't know, Ben, what do you think?
I'm there for an audience. I'm an extroverted introvert.
I could actually see that, actually. Somehow that made sense.
So there's, well, again, it goes back to storytelling, and when you have the audience, there I am. Whether it's I was the faculty speaker at a small graduation ceremony for a cohort that was graduating, and the more you connect with the people and know about them, of course, that's the easier part. But if even a room full of strangers, there's a technique of scanning the room and finding the smiles and finding comfort in those smiles. So there's a technique that appeals to my extroverted introvertedness.
How about you, Peter?
The talks that I've given I've given a couple talks at a college for an MFA program, and it's hard not knowing what the audience is looking for, what information they want to learn, what you can offer them in terms of your experience, or your knowledge, or your skill of craft, that kind of thing. So it's like I struggle sometimes with what exactly I'm going to say, so I just put my best foot forward and say what comes from my heart.
Now we've already established I'm an introvert, but I grew up in front of the camera and on stage. So for me, I usually, wherever I'm gonna, I love presenting, by the way. I love speaking in front of that, which is weird, right? Like, speaking in front of one-on-one people I don't know can be tiring. And speaking in front of small groups can be tiring. but I mean, I love interacting with small groups, large groups. You could probably put me in front of an audience of like thousands and I'd be totally fine. I would just be tired after. But yeah, usually what I'll do is I'll meet with whoever it is beforehand and ask them, okay, who's the audience? What do you think they would be interested in? You know, what kind of topics? Like I'm going to be at the Diamond Valley Writers Guild, I believe, in mid-February, or not February, in mid-May. And I asked, like, what do you think they would love to hear about? So I'm going to be speaking about structure. And so I asked, so based on the current audience, what's everyone working on? You know, would there be greater benefit for me to talk about like short story structure or, you know, novel structure or what have you? And it turns out the majority, I'm glad I asked, because it turns out the majority of the members are actually working on memoirs. So, which is a completely different thing. So, you know, if I wouldn't have asked the questions, then I wouldn't have been able to prepare a chat, and I wouldn't have had it as targeted or as thoroughly targeted to the audience that I'll be in front of. So, and it's fun too, because I get to talk about all different kinds of things. Sometimes groups have me come out and talk about branding. Sometimes they have me come out and talk about, you know, publishing in general. Sometimes, you know, they just want to hear about how we acquire titles, decide on what we're going to acquire. Sometimes it's all about craft, and sometimes they want to know, like, why does my cat invade all of our Zoom meetings? So, you know, I just go with it, similarly to what these two gentlemen had said. So
And
I hope that answers.
Back to Peter's point, it's a relationship, and once you find out what the audience is looking for, you can draw energy from that, and that's why questions from the audience will help relax any speaker, because now they're speaking to something that somebody is interested in, and so it's a matter of gaining that energy from interests from your audience.
Actually, that's a great point. And by you know, having a chance to sit down with whoever it is that's hosting that chat and finding out like who the audience is, that helps you so that when you do get those one-on-one questions, you're better prepared. But, you know, like, you know, I've done panels at LA Comic-Con, and, you know, and at other large, you know, huge conferences that like the room was sold out. And I was shocked because I thought, why do you guys care about what we have to say? But, you know, clearly there was an audience who wanted to know more about, you know, whatever that topic that was really more focused on a writer versus something like a reader might be interested in. I don't know if that made sense, but yeah. Great questions, guys. Wow, and we're already at quarter to the end of the hour. That's kind of amazing. So if you have just checked in, then don't forget to submit your questions to us by just popping them into the comments section, and we will repeat said question. And you are here with some of the acquisition editors for Running Wild and RIZE presses. And we are here with you on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And we'll answer whatever questions you might have. Typically, we get asked a lot about editing and the craft of writing and publishing. And that's the big stuff, actually. Are you guys going to be speaking anywhere in the coming months? No.
No. Ben?
Not for writing, but I am scheduled to go to Sicily and talk about intrasubjectivity. You know, Peter's favorite topic.
What is?
I can tell by your face when I said it. Yeah. It's the Center of Consciousness Studies, and it's one of my many backgrounds. of mindfulness and consciousness.
Cool.
And I'm talking about being mindful of oneself and the many different people we get to be. And sometimes we're a loosely coupled system. Yeah.
I see. Now, do you at least
I
use
hope they ask a lot of questions so I know what I'm talking about.
or you can pretend that you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's in Sicily, so I'll go to the ocean.
I was gonna say, are you gonna use this as an excuse at least to wander around Sicily or not?
Oh yes, oh yeah.
Okay.
And then
Actually,
my son, who who used to be little, but he's not anymore. He saw the itinerary on the table downstairs, and he said, "Have you ever been to Munchen?" Because I've got a layover in Germany, and I said, "Yeah, I've been to Munchen." And I'm going back. I don't know who raised him, but it's the European geography was not part of it.
I see that. Or I hear that rather. I hear that.
Yes.
Caroline says, so great to see all of you and hear your answers, always enlightening into the world of publishing. Well, I don't know how enlightening we are for the world of publishing. We're definitely enlightening for the worlds of Running Wild and RIZE, but I'm sure if you pulled in editors and other editors and publishers, they may give you wildly different answers. So like we've
the editing. There's an eye out for detail because it's if you mention a 1956 Impala, they didn't exist, and so there's that reading for detail as well, and make sure that you're not accurate, and it's got an eye on accuracy as well.
That's true. That's true. And then it's also one of those did they do this intentionally as like a flag for something?
Yes.
But yeah,
like a misspelling on a signpost.
Yeah.
That was a
Uh-oh. I hope we didn't lose him. Or maybe I got lost. Oh well. What I was gonna say, I think Ben froze. Hey, at least it's not an obscene freeze.
There he is.
Oh, there he is now. His eyes are moving. There you go.
I just went to a little circle.
I'm
back.
Oh, okay. So I was just saying that I do know that there are other publishers who have a very different approach, just based on when I talk to some of the authors that we've published and other publishers and editors at different conferences and workshops and such. Some are, they basically rewrite the author's whole story, which I just don't agree with personally. That that eliminates the person's voice, which is not the point, at least not our point. And then there are others who they just basically look at it and go, yeah, this is good, and then they publish it as is. So
I've worked with authors in the past that have they've sent me what has been published by magazines or whatnot, and I'm like, would they publish this like this? And I'm like, it was typos, line spacing's all messed up, grammar mistakes, punctuation mistakes. I'm like, they just published this. Oh, well, yeah, they said it was perfect. I'm like, we got a little bit of work to do. So
now, mind you, we do generally speaking lean toward only acquiring stories that don't need massive rewrites. There aren't a ton of typos, that kind of thing. But we've also acquired stories in the past that we thought had a lot of potential, right? Like we knew that there were certain elements that needed to be beefed up, and we as a team decided that was totally fine. because one of us was willing to work with the person. So
Yeah, and I don't mean to put that on the publications. Absolutely not, because when they're publishing stories and publishing poetry, I mean, that's the point. They may have a staff of 15, they may have a staff of 1. So I'm not trying to put them down. I'm just saying the stuff that comes across my desk that I get sometimes requires a lot of work, sometimes just requires a little bit of work. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
I think as the author, you should appreciate that finer look, that more detailed look, to say this was perfect for them, but it's not perfect for me. We can make it better, and I think the author's got to be open to that, and with open-minded, if not open-hearted, and to thank the editor for taking the time and saying we can make it better.
I have had one author take the stories that I edited and take them to another press, and they ran it past another editor, and I'm like, well, those were great the way they were. I mean, what needed to be changed? So I was like, that happens to me sometimes too. So it's all subjective, as Ben was saying. It's all up to the what the editor thinks or feels would work.
Yeah, absolutely. And that does, in all honesty, annoy me when we've put in a ton of work with the author, and the author then turns around and says, never mind, I don't want to publish with you guys, and then goes to either another press or they self-publish. And I just think that's really wildly rude. At least have some, I don't know, have some grace.
You're burning bridges, and there aren't that many bridges to burn, to be honest.
Yeah. Now, admittedly, though, at the LA Festival of Books, I was shocked at the number of publishers that were there. Like, there were a ton of publishers, but there were also a ton of like they weren't really publishers. They were more like organizations that you pay them to publish your book, because you're really self-publishing in essence with them, if that makes sense.
Press?
Yeah, there were a ton of vanity presses. I was actually surprised at the number, but yeah. Cool. Well, we've only got, 8 minutes left? We've only got 8 minutes left, guys. So again, if you've got any questions or comments, feel free to just go ahead and pop them into the comments section, and we will be absolutely more than happy to respond. Oh, I did want to say, I got this request a couple of times this weekend. A few times people came up to me and said, hey, can I just hand you my manuscript? And the answer is, well, of course, physically you can. But you probably don't really want to do that. You probably really want to actually submit your story through our submittable page, because I am not the one who makes the final decision. It's actually our team of acquisition editors, as well as marketing and licensing. We all get together, and we, as a group, as a leadership team, make the call. So handing me your manuscript, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to do anything. So yeah. So just to keep that in mind. Caroline asks, what does this week look like for each of you? So guys, what you got coming up?
Jeez, I wish you had something exciting. Ben, tell me you got something exciting coming up, because I'm coming up with Bupkis.
I'm in between the spring semester and the summer semester, and it's 3 weeks in between the two. And what we've done is taken a 15-week course, crammed it into 3 weeks. We call it the intercession, and I'm teaching it.
Oh, wow.
But it's a jump in and hang on kind of class. But when I get tired of reading discussion posts and submissions, quizzes, I'll be editing.
I'm meeting with my next author on Saturday. On Sunday, I'm going to Santa Monica to meet with another amazing author. I have a lot of, I have to write a proposal for AWP. I need to write at least one, if not multiple proposals for the American Library Association. I am going to be meeting with some of our authors to look at potential publicity opportunities. I need to work on our business plan to see about us getting investors so that we can get more attention to our fantastic titles. I'm going to Fogo de Chao on, it's LA's restaurant week. So I get to have lots of meat on the cheap. And tonight I'm going to an indie rock musical with a dear friend of mine. And just getting like tacos and margaritas beforehand. So we're literally in 4 minutes, my tushy is going out the door and to meet up my friends so we can go and get our tacos on and then go to the indie rock musical, which should be a lot of fun. The musical, it's actually already won like a ton of awards. Wendy, My Darling. So it's based on the concept that Wendy from Peter Pan actually grows up and what her life is like. So, so that I'm really looking forward to. What else?
It's so cool you guys have lives. I envy you.
Oh no. See, this is all shoved in. Like this morning, I was so exhausted when I woke up that after my alarm went off, I turned it off and I went back to bed because I was like, I'm not going to make it. I am not going to make it if I don't, because let's just say I had a very eventful week of activities, both positive and enlightening. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, I guess I just keep knocking stuff out. And in between I'll also be doing editing. I feel like there's some other things I have to get done for us, but I don't remember what they are right now. I actually keep a list that I go over in the mornings to see, like, did I actually do that? Do I still need to do that? I don't know. Oh, anyway.
Yeah, we just got our kitchen renovated, so I'm still doing the punch list, getting stuff rewired, getting stuff put up, getting stuff arranged the correct way. So it's just been a bunch of chores last couple of weeks.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm. Looks great.
I was gonna ask, are you happy with it?
Very, very happy with it. Yeah, it looks fantastic.
That's awesome. We just had our showers all redone.
How's your roof?
Oh, I still don't have one. We're still well, that's an exaggeration. I still have a big ass hole in it.
Oh man.
So hopefully it's supposed to get fixed in the next couple weeks. What happened is so many houses in the Los Angeles County and Orange County areas got just slammed with all these massive storms that all the contractors who are actually skilled at this kind of stuff are just completely swamped. So even getting on their calendar has been a bit of a challenge. So, but yeah, hopefully that'll happen in the next couple weeks, and hopefully in the next couple weeks they'll come out and also finish the renovations to my living room, because my living room ceiling, fell in.
Yeah, whenever there's a hurricane in Florida, there's always a caravan of contractors coming down from the north. Just hundreds of them just coming down 95 or 75, whichever one got hit worse. But I mean, just like hundreds of them.
Oh yeah, yep. So and at least this one was open and said we're not going to be able to come out for at least 2 to 3 weeks. So I'm like, okay, at least you told me, instead of me sitting here going someday. So anyway, so I think with that, we're at the end of the hour just about. So I want to thank everybody, Caroline, CJ, Margaret, and everybody who watched. If you are watching this and it is not Thursday between 5 and 6 p.m. Pacific time, 8 and 9 p.m. Eastern time, go ahead and toss your questions into the chat, because we always go back, we look at it, and then we'll respond to it the subsequent week. And with that, I also want to thank Peter and Ben. As always, you guys are fantastic. And we will see everybody next week. Ciao.
Cool. See ya.
Bye.